Hello and welcome to the turbulent world with me, James M. Dorsey, as your host. Pursuing diametrically opposed objectives, Gaza ceasefire mediators are working at cross purposes. The divide among the mediators, the United States, Qatar, and Egypt, significantly diminishes the chances of the ceasefire's talks succeeding, and if they do, reaching a deal that would lead to an end of the war. Hamas's renewed acceptance of a month-old Israeli-endorsed US proposal for a 60-day ceasefire was as much a product of the mediators working at cross purposes as it was a Qatar-Egyptian attempt to get the talks back on track. It was also an effort to re-engage US President Donald Trump, who faced with mounting criticism of Israel's Gaza starvation policy from segments of his support base, has gone silent on the ceasefire talks. Finally, Qatar and Egypt hope the revived talks will keep open the door to a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Qatar, Egypt, and other Arab states have pressured Hamas to make a conciliatory move. See the creation of a Palestinian state alongside Israel as the only way of resolving the conflict. In a break with long-standing US policy, the Trump administration has progressively walked away from supporting a two-state solution and aligned itself with the Israeli government's hardline ultranationalism. Hamas announced its renewed acceptance as the United States and Israel changed the goalposts of the ceasefire talks by rejecting a temporary halt of hostilities and insisting that Hamas's remaining 50 hostages abducted during the group's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel be released in one batch rather than in stages. In addition, Mr. Trump has on at least two occasions in recent weeks green-lighted expanded Israeli military operations to take ground control of Gaza and forcibly free the hostages. Earlier this month, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu demanded a one-time release of all hostages rather than in stages, as he had wanted in the past because it would prolong the war. Furthermore, Mr. Netanyahu insisted that the war end on his terms, which include the disarmament of Hamas and the exiling of its leaders, a continued Israeli presence in Gaza, and control of the Strip's airspace and territorial waters, and the installation of a Palestinian and/or Arab administration subservient to Israel. In effect, Mr. Netanyahu was demanding Hamas's surrender, which he sees, coupled with his rejection of a role for the group or the West Bank-based internationally recognized Palestine Authority in post-war Gaza, as the way to squash Palestinian national aspirations. Hamas's acceptance, which included several concessions, forced Mr. Netanyahu to agree to a revival of the ceasefire negotiations, while insisting that his military would proceed with plans to occupy Gaza City. This way, Mr. Netanyahu hopes to avoid being blamed if the talks fail, which is likely, assuming he sticks to his demands. To force Mr. Netanyahu's return to the negotiating table, Hamas dropped its demand that Israel withdraws from the Philadelphia corridor, which runs parallel to Gaza's border with Egypt, agreed to the continued presence in Gaza of the controversial US and Israel-backed Gulf Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF, acquiesced in a larger buffer zone in the Strip, and indicated flexibility on the terms of an exchange of the hostages for Palestinians incarcerated by Israel. To be sure, it's hard to argue against the release of all Hamas hostages in one go. Even so, many see Mr. Netanyahu's changing of the goalposts for what it is, a maneuver to prolong the war and further reduce the chances for a two-state solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Prominent journalist Ronen Bergman noted that Israel's return to negotiations was anchored in a cabinet decision that hostilities would only end when Israel has security control of the Strip, an international entity that excludes Hamas and the Palestine Authority takes over the administration of Gaza, and Israel has destroyed Hamas. The Israel Defense Forces estimates it will take 3 to 5 years to do this. In other words, the cabinet's decision is the continuation of the war for many years, Mr. Bergman said. As a result, Mr. Netanyahu's return to the negotiating table, with famine spreading in Gaza and Israeli military operations killing scores of mostly innocent Palestinians daily, will do little to improve the Prime Minister and Israel's badly damaged international standing, or grant Israel a victory in its uphill battle to win the information war. Nor will the fact that credible Israeli sources frequently debunk Mr. Netanyahu and Israel's assertions and justifications. In the last week, an investigation by The Guardian, Plus 972, an Israeli-Palestinian publication, and the Hebrew language outlet Local Call disclosed that figures from a classified Israeli military intelligence database show that as of May, 5 out of 6 Palestinians killed by Israeli forces in Gaza were civilians. The figures put the number of Palestinian fighters killed up until May at almost half of the Israeli assertions. The database accepted as accurate the casualty figures published by the Gaza health authorities, despite Israeli spokespeople insisting that Hamas inflates the figures. A leaked audio clip of remarks believed to have been made in March by Major General Aharon Haliva, the former head of Israeli military intelligence, added fuel to the fire. The remarks were in line with genocidal teachings of ultra-conservative far-right rabbis in government-subsidized pre-military academies. Mr. Haliva was head of Israeli military intelligence when Hamas launched its attack. He resigned his position in April 2024 over his leadership responsibility for the Israeli military's intelligence and operational failures on October 7. Mr. Haliva was the first senior military officer to do so. If that were not enough to undermine Israeli government assertions, 2 American private security guards employed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation accused the Israeli military and the guards of being responsible for the bulk of the deaths of more than 1,000 Palestinians desperate for food who were killed at the foundation's distribution sites. Israel and the foundation have denied the allegations. And on top of all of this, a United Nations report presented by UN Undersecretary for Humanitarian Coordination, Tom Fletcher, declared a famine in Gaza last week. The UN's Integrated Food Security Phase Classification rarely declares an official famine. The report warned that more than 500,000 people in Gaza, about a quarter of its population, face catastrophic levels of hunger, with many at risk of dying from malnutrition-related causes. Mr. Netanyahu may not care about the reputational impact of Israel's war conduct, his systematic sabotaging of ceasefire negotiations, and the mounting pressure on some of the Jewish state's closest allies to impose sanctions. Ronit Harpaz, the founder of a European Union-funded medical device startup, warned that European sanctions would be the death knell for Israel's high-tech industry and military-industrial complex. The European Union has raised the specter of suspending Israel's association agreement and trade arrangements with the group. Earlier this month, Germany suspended the export of arms to Israel that could be used in Gaza, while Turkey banned all maritime traffic with Israel. Germany's arms embargo could affect the replacement of Merkava tank engines. This means some tanks are out of commission, and the military's ability to operate in Gaza could take a hit, said military affairs journalist Amos Harel. Mr. Netanyahu is equally oblivious to hundreds of thousands of Israelis protesting in demand of an end to the war to secure the release of the hostages, and public opinion polls that indicate that a majority of Israelis agree with the protesters. Recent opinion polls show that an election would deprive Mr. Netanyahu's coalition of a majority in parliament, despite his Likud party retaining its position as Israel's largest political party. Long dismissive of international public opinion or criticism from Israel's allies, Mr. Netanyahu recently indicated that he had lost hope of winning the information war on the back of an ill-conceived communication strategy and the overwhelming evidence that discredits Israeli assertions and arguments. As a result, Mr. Netanyahu is shifting gears. Rather than attempt to refute allegations against Israel, Mr. Netanyahu wants to tackle the issue by influencing social media algorithms. Mr. Netanyahu hopes to repeat his success in enlisting the United States in cracking down on freedom of expression and assembly, as well as academic freedom in universities and public squares, by persuading social media operators like Meta, the owner of Facebook and Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter, owned by Elon Musk, to manipulate their algorithms in Israel's favor. Internal metadata leaked in April showed that the company had cracked down on posts critical of Israel or supportive of Palestinians as part of a campaign orchestrated by Israel, the foremost originator of takedown requests globally. Mr. Netanyahu's quest to influence or control algorithms would expand Israeli censorship efforts, enthusiastically implemented by the Trump administration. Even if he succeeds, Mr. Netanyahu and Israel are unlikely to turn the tide in their backfiring information war. Just how much of an uphill battle Mr. Netanyahu is waging is evident in the emerging counterwinds from within his coalition and coalition partners' support base. People like Daniel Pipes, the founder of the Philadelphia-based Middle East Forum, an influential advocate of hardline Israeli positions, and right-wing Israeli journalist Menachem Horowitz have called on Mr. Netanyahu and his ultra-nationalist coalition partners to end the war. Many on the right, and I am among them, wanted to see a clear decision in Gaza. I believed, like many in Israel, that massive immigration of Palestinians to Arab countries could happen, and that we could even return some settlements to the Strip. I also thought that a policy of withholding almost all aid would create enough pressure on Hamas. Reality has shown us otherwise, and after so much destruction and victimization, we are very far from those plans. A large majority of the Israeli public understands this, Mr. Horowitz said. The government can boast a very nice list of Israeli war achievements. Hamas hardly functions militarily. Hezbollah was defeated in Lebanon. We destroyed the entire Syrian army and even attacked Iran. Only in Gaza are we still stuck with no way out, Mr. Horowitz added. Thank you for joining me today. The rise of artificial intelligence magnifies the importance of journalists with true expertise, top-notch sourcing, and historical depth. These journalists, like me, tell and analyze in-depth stories. Their goal is to enhance their readers' and listeners' ability to form informed opinions of their own. We don't just chronicle events. Our reporting and analysis are shaped by years of on the ground coverage, expertise, and historical knowledge. In my case, I have covered geopolitics, the Middle East, and the Muslim world for decades, having been based in multiple countries, including Israel, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the UAE, Lebanon, Kuwait, and Turkey. Hard hitting reporting and analysis that lets the chips fall where they may is even more critical in a world of brutal wars, unimaginable humanitarian crises, and increasing authoritarianism. That is the turbulent world with James M. Dorsey's mission since its inception 15 years ago. Thousands worldwide are avid readers and listeners of the turbulent world. Join them in helping to maintain and expand the column and podcast by becoming a paid subscriber. You can contribute by visiting jamesmdorsey.substack.com and choosing one of the subscription options. Thank you for your support and loyalty. Take care and see you soon.